Welcome, League of Legends enthusiasts, to episode number 76 of the BBC Broken by Concept podcast extraordinaire. Preseason, League of Legends. It's preseason, season 12. It's November of 2021. It's the time of year for Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving in America soon, isn't it? That's a big deal over there.
Really? I don't know anything about that.
We don't know anything about that, is it?
I'm disconnected from the American
All right,
culture.
Curtis. So what we're going to do this episode is we're going to start talking about our initial thoughts for the preseason.
Yep.
We had some people in the comments. I saw people were saying they want to know how to use the preseason.
Okay.
So how many games have you played so far, Curtis? Give me an exact number. I want the exact
I don't know
number.
exact number, but I would say roughly 25.
Jeez Louise. All right. And are you playing the same champs or old champs?
I'm playing a bit of everything, man. Spicing it up. Just trying to get a feel for the items, really.
Okay. So
How about you?
let's go over the... So I've probably played... You said 20... I thought I played way more, but I probably used about 20, 25 games. It's only been a week. It's been less than a week, so there's no possible, right?
Not that much.
Okay,
You
I
can't
wouldn't
really
say.
get that many games in.
So I probably played around 20 games as well. All right. So the first thing, the biggest change... I mean, no, not the biggest. All right. So the first thing, let's talk about the dragons.
Okay, we'll start with the dragons. Let's go
Okay.
to like the neutral objectives and let's talk about. Okay, let's be careful here. So I don't want this to be. I don't want to just go through all the changes. I
Okay.
want to come at this at an angle of what is Riot's intention. I just want to cover the really important information to know for people. Like I don't want to get into numbers and all that crap. Like very important things. And then maybe like we can talk about holistically the direction they're moving in. Okay.
Okay.
So we got to talk about dragons, right?
So my first question is, did you want new dragons in the game, Curtis? Do you think it's necessary? And what do you think of the new dragons? The Hex Tech and the Chem Tank, Chem Punk, whatever.
I like it. I like
Do you
it.
think
man.
it gives more spice to the game?
Yeah, spice it up. Why not? I think it's a very safe way to add change into a game. I think.
Do you think it's just adding a new dragon?
Yeah, a dragon's a
extra stat.
dragon, and yeah, a little bit more variability. The camouflage is kind of cool. It adds just another dimension. I don't mind it. And the portals, like to be honest, in the games that I've played anyway, it's
It doesn't really do anything, does
No,
it?
I mean it's not like a game changer. I mean, at least in my game so far.
So I've seen people like zip out in weird situations.
Yeah.
Like they just zip out, dude, because the cast time on it to go through
And
it
yeah, there's a cast time and then
is really short,
you
but
can,
then
like,
it's long.
go a different direction. I like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think that stuff it's more it's like noise to me, you know.
Yeah,
The
it's just
dragons are
noise.
just
I agree,
noise,
I
you know.
agree.
It's not
Yeah.
really that important.
Yeah.
A dragon's a dragon. You're always gonna want either you want to get dragons or you don't want to get dragons.
Yeah.
In terms of like the actual soul, both of them are pretty impactful. I mean, the Scion, it's like the Scion passive, right?
Curtis, I think impactful's an understatement. That's out of control, I think. I
Right.
feel like I'm versing an elder dragon.
Right. Okay. I actually have not versed the soul of the.
Chem Punk.
No, I've done the. It's not Chem. I think it's Chem
Punk?
Tank, isn't it?
That's an item, Curtis, you idiot.
Chem Tech and Hex Tech, isn't it? Chem Tech and Hex Tech.
Maybe so, Chem Punk.
So the chemical one is like a chemicals and
yeah.
shit like flying around. That's the Psyonaut one.
Yeah.
And then there's the Hex Tech, Hex
I've
Gate.
never got the soul for that.
Yeah, I've never got the soul for that.
I haven't
either.
got the soul either for that either.
The games have ended before they
Yeah.
got to that point.
I think what it is, it's like a static shiv.
It reminds me of the Volibear.
Lord.
Remember old Volibear ult? It was like chain.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's like you auto attack someone
Yeah.
like the chain goes through. It's like a static shift / volley ult. So I mean, at the end of that, can't be bad, right? It's just damage, and it gives you ability, haste, and attack speed, doesn't it? The stacking it.
One thing I do like is they adjusted the Cloud Drake. It has the
movement speed.
flat move speed
That's
now. and
great.
stuff. I think
Out
it's
of
way
combat,
better.
it's
Yeah.
what it used to be. They reverted
Yeah,
it.
they reverted for some
I
reason.
like that. I think
Honestly,
it made way more sense.
that feels a lot better.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of
Like
that.
you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I like that. But yeah, largely noise. About Scuttles. That's a big one on my end. People ask about
Jesus.
Scuttles.
Okay,
How
so
the hell does
jungle.
Scuttles change?
Yeah, so that was a shock, man. That's like a,
Okay.
So the reason why it's a shock is.
So what do they do specifically?
So they specifically for the first crab spawn, they reduce the. It's very easy to kill now. It's super easy, like 700, literally a smite and like 3 auto attacks. It's dead.
Okay.
Right. So, bam,
Really quick.
super quick. And it gives less experience, which this is the key one.
Yep.
So you used to be able to do 5 camps, which is a very standard clear for a lot of junglers.
So give me an example of a camp. So that's like
red. Let's say I'm playing Graves.
Yep.
red, raptors, wolves, blue, gromp,
Yep.
top crab.
Yep.
Or bot crab.
Stock standard.
And you don't get level 4 from that anymore.
Right.
So that people
that's
are stressing.
big.
People are stressing.
Okay, that's actually really big.
Because
Wait, so how do you get level 4 though?
So there's two. Yeah, so you would have to go into a lane or something and get some experience or a game.
You have to hover. What happens if you do? Will it change if you do Krugs?
No, nothing changes. 5 camps.
It's 5 camps or 5 camps. Okay. So, but then does that mean people can do a full clear, 6 camps?
I think we might be going back to that meta.
Full clear, because at the end of the day, full clears. I mean, Scuttle's not that important anymore, right?
No.
I mean, it's not getting you level 4.
No.
I mean, it's divisions. It doesn't really do jack shit anyway.
It's a little bit, but yeah, it doesn't do that much. Yeah.
Well, what happens then, Nathan? If people are doing full clears, then vertical invades come more apparent, don't they? Because you can catch people off if they do 3 camp onto one side. Like they do 3 camp one side, go into the other side.
Yeah, I mean, that depends on a lot of things, right? Like,
'Cause why I don't-
match up lane priority.
Like, why I don't think it will go to full clear meta is because whenever I think of full clear meta, I always think that can only ever happen when the champs. It's not about the clear; it's about the champions. That's how I feel.
Okay.
So my again, I don't really know much about jungle, but what I would say is, okay, say we're in a meta where like Lee Sin, like just by stats and items and things like that, like Lee Sin, Nidalee, just champions that can actually do things maybe early or get in the enemies, like Kindred, things like that are strong. Full clear junglers can't ever really be a thing, even if it's more efficient to do a full clear because
no map impact.
yeah, no impact, and they'll just get invaded and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I always felt as though full
Yeah,
clear,
like full clear champs were good because they were actually hard to invade. Like killing an Udyr and like a Olaf and a Hecarim when it was sort of that thing. That was actually hard to
they're
do.
actually hard to kill.
On Eve and stuff, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I won't
Yeah.
just go blindly to a full clear. That's
Yeah,
what I
it'd be
think
interesting.
anyway.
I agree. I think the Scuttle, like I, to be honest, haven't really. I mean, I've been playing a lot of Rek'Sai, right? And I
Right.
honestly,
You don't really care about level 4 anyway, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it just
no,
level 3?
yeah, I'm never gonna care about level 4 anyway. So I'm like, I somewhat feel it's noise at the moment again.
Okay.
I think it's like actually not that big of a change.
Because what I've seen in my coaching clients, just the initial sessions that I've done, is that the junglers are now it's just autopilot. Like they've got such an ingrained habit that they go into the Scuttle and fighting over the Scuttle.
Yeah, they'll still do it.
That having priority is still impactful. But I think over the next month, a month or two, as junglers start to realize that Scuttle isn't that important, you won't see as many skirmishes in the river. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I disagree again. I think that will stay because you're gonna do something. You're gonna fight over something. People love fighting.
You're gonna invade
Like-
raptors,
like-
or you're gonna do something anyway.
If I've finished my camps and I see this little next thing, even if it gives me 1 experience in gold, I'm probably gonna go and fight.
Right.
You know?
Okay. So you're saying that it's like it can't hurt of having priority. It can't hurt if you're a mid laner. It's not gonna hurt to have priority.
No.
Right.
No. So Riot said that they made this change is because they felt like too many games were coin flipped over the crowd.
I would
and
agree
stuff
with
like
that.
And you think that's the case?
I would agree with that because even if, let's just say, okay, this is what I think it will change
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
Say you've got 2 junglers pathing bot to top. Right. You said Graves Graves on blue side, 5 camp top side.
Yeah.
And then maybe you've got like a Hecarim or something starting on blue. Hecarim wouldn't even do that, right? What was a jungler would do 5 camp up to top side from on red side?
So that would look like blue, Gromp,
Yep.
Wolves,
Yeah.
Raptors, red.
Yeah,
and
who would do
Crab.
that? What sort of jungler would do that? Give me an example of one. Lee Sin do that?
Yeah, Lee Sin would do something like that.
Or could?
Yeah. Shit, I don't know. That was pretty rare, to be honest.
You don't see that? Is that because the champions that would do that wouldn't do Raptors?
Yeah.
Okay, regardless.
Yeah.
Whether or not they done 5 camp, 4 camp doesn't matter. Let's just say they skip Raptors, whatever.
Yeah.
They meet on top side. They're both on top side of the map.
Yeah.
I think what will happen is that the jungler that is weaker on the top side, they're going to be more incentivized to say no rather than blindly wanting to coin flip the Scuttle and go onto the other side, or just not even go, just full clear, just continue to full clear top side, just reset, go back bot side or something like that. Like, I think that's what it's going to change rather than junglers feeling pressure. Like, I got to get this Scuttle. Otherwise, if I get double Scuttle, I'm done. Like, they're going to feel less inclined.
Yeah.
And, like, taking a step back here, tying it back to Riot's direction. Look, we're going to get flamed again in the comments by, that guy saying
Riot
I'm
apologies.
delusional about how much Riot,
Yeah.
all that crap about Riot, me protecting Riot. But okay, you got to give Riot props here. Okay, let's take a step back here. Think about some of the main complaints that the League community have made about SoloQ. Number one, you just said one of them. Games are too coin flip over Scuttles, and if you don't have prio for Scuttle, you feel like it's hard to play the game, right? That's one of them. Another one, it's difficult to play mages. What do? They introduce Crown. We'll get to that later on.
Items.
You struggle against shields. Too many shields in the game. They added an item to deal with shields. Again, we'll cover that. That didn't do it perfectly, but we'll cover that. Scuttle fights, we talked about that. FF in game, like you get behind in the early game and the game just feels over. What do? Added extra bounties to objectives, differing more creative ways to get back in the game. Comeback mechanics. They've listened to many of the complaints, and you can actually see the intention with what they're trying to do. They're trying to create to make it such that there are many ways to win a game. It's not just over at 15. Like, you don't want to FF at 15. They want to make it such that there are more combat mechanics. You don't have to coin flip a fight at a Scuttle. You know, like you can't. You don't have to play this fast-paced style. You can play mages and play lane bully if you really want to. They're trying to spice things up a little bit, and I really respect the fuck out of Riot for doing this. Yes, it's not perfect, but you also got to think about it. This is how big? It's $1 billion. Billions of dollars are being made every year off this game. You can't just blindly make huge game-changing things, alterations to the game, on a whim. I mean, these are pretty significant changes. So again, you got to give them props, I think. Would you agree with that?
Well, obviously now's the time to test these things, right? The
Right.
preseason. But yeah, I agree. They're definitely trying some interesting. Again, like the reasoning for the crab, like that makes sense to me.
It makes sense.
And I think it's like, okay, well, you know, we find that a lot of games are getting, you know, I don't want to say exactly decided, but heavily influenced by the first crab.
Yep.
So let's try and make that maybe not as impactful. But then I'm also thinking, well, you know, you got to have things that are impactful in the game still, you know, because, you know, the scared people, the consensus with the objective bounties and stuff, it's like, well, what's the point of like an early game lead anymore?
Well, let's talk about that, right? Let's go on to talk about objective bounties.
Okay.
So what are your concerns with the objective bounties? Let's start with that.
Early game, so this is like a flow-on effect. Early game junglers, early leads are less useful.
And you don't think that's healthy for the game?
Absolutely not. No.
And why is that?
I mean, it could. I mean, well, I mean, then it just is going to move to, like, you know, champs that are just better at just team fighting and stuff.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here.
Yeah,
okay, number
just
one.
team fighting.
I'm not going to protect Riot. Obviously, the objective bounties from a numbers perspective right now are not correct.
They did hotfix it, and I think the times were weird
right.
as well.
Even then, after the hotfix, I think it's not optimal. Like, they're a little bit too dramatic right now. Like, you can throw 12k gold leads. It's ridiculous. You should never be able to throw a 12k gold lead.
Yeah.
But again, if done well, if they can manage the numbers and, you know, how you get the bounties and make it a lot more intricate and sophisticated, I think it will encourage people to not give up, and it will encourage people to find creative ways to trade objectives and get things done. A common thing you will see, right, and we see this all the time, especially in the faster pace regions, if you're losing at 15 minutes, you're just going to run it down mid and coin flip a team fight. The team that it's behind, again, going to be less incentivized to do that and be like, interesting. Okay, I get it. We're really far behind. Even if we lose 2 towers topside, we trade sides of the map, you get 1 tower. Okay, this is actually not as bad as what it used to be. You know, I might get 1 tower, they get 2 towers, but because we get the bounty as well, we actually get a little bit for it. So I think that if they can increase the sophistication of the bounties, make them a little bit more balanced, more intuitive, more creative, I think that the system fundamentally is really good. Like they said in the video, their intention wasn't to make it, if you get really far ahead, that you shouldn't win. It's more about there should be more creative comeback mechanics. But I think the issue here, if we're going to, again, just be a little bit more nuanced in our thinking, The reason this isn't well accepted by the League community is because it runs counter to everything that has happened. It runs counter to people's default response and habits ingrained in their SoloQ experience. For example, the average SoloQ player, if you think about every streamer, the consensus right now, if you get behind, is FF, get me out, right? FF, move on, go next, get me out.
Yeah.
That is now so deeply embedded as a cultural, that's just like a movement, right? FF15, get me out. That even if the game isn't quote unquote over, it's going to take a long time for people to get used to not FFing and actually trying to play win the game and play from behind. Because we've said this time and time again, people are not good at playing from behind, not because it's difficult, but
they give up.
But because they give up mentally.
Yeah.
So I really love the direction in which they're trying to go. They're trying to, I'm not even looking at this from like an in-game mechanic perspective.
Just philosophy.
I'm looking at it from what are Riot trying to do holistically with the culture of the game, which is what I love about many of these changes. They're trying to promote creativity or mental resolve and staying in the game and being, not just giving up. Do you see where I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do. I agree. Yeah, I mean, everything maybe comes with like negatives as well, I guess, and again, I'm afraid, especially, I saw a tweet, I can't remember who it was, but one of the coaches in LCS was saying this just drags away incentive for people to make riskier plays in competitive when you're ahead.
Okay.
Do you think that's the thing, or that's over-exaggeration?
I mean, but define risky. What is that? Like, again, get specific. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, you have to get specific. It's
like you got to get specific because in my experience, when it comes to competitive play, a play is a play. Like, it's either a good player or it's not a good player. Yes, you can talk about risk, but risk is hard to determine.
I guess it's like those mechanical outplay ones and stuff. Like,
but again, if anything, that encourages people to be more precise. Just again, playing devil's advocate to that, it's like that encourages people to be very specific and very calculated. Like, you can't just go for...
Yeah, well, I think what people are saying is that we've seen that, like, in competitive sometimes it just gets boring.
I just don't think it can go that way because of the impact of objectives.
Yeah.
Like, I think with the impact of how good souls are, right? And barons and elders, I don't think...
It's true. There is the balance of...
Games can't ever get stalled out like that. That's just not the way the game works anymore.
Yeah.
Like, back in the day, you could kind of do that, but I don't see it. I don't see it personally.
There is the mechanics where you can't just sit there and do nothing and wait for them to throw some bounties. I mean, that's just not going to work, right?
I mean, again...
Baron's very strong. Yeah, like these new drags and Dragon Soul's really good.
I think what we're going to see is that we're just going to see more of an emphasis on objectives. That's it. It's just going to be even more of an emphasis on dragons and risk because you want to like barons because you don't want to allow them to get bounties and things like that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be more disciplined.
Yeah. So then that goes back. It's like, well, early game junglers are all very good in those situations. So maybe...
Well, you can't blindly play an early game jungler and piss away the early game by not stacking objectives and trying to push the pace of the game.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah.
There should be a direct trade-off of playing an early game jungler because a lot of the time nowadays, before the bounties, you can play an early game jungler and you're never falling off. Like a Xin Zhao who gets 4-0 in the early game... You're going to be super impactful.
Strong,
you're always strong no matter what. So I don't... And Lee Sin, all right? Lee Sin gets 2 kills in the early game. You're done. Like, you're so strong for the entirety of the game, basically, as long as you're competent with the champion. So I actually, again, I just only ever see positives. Yes, what it is right now, not good. But I like the philosophy, the direction that they're trying... The message that they're trying to push. Because the way I'm viewing most of these changes, I think of like people in the boardroom and they're not even looking like, it's not like they blindly pick these introductions. Like, I don't think the conversation they had was how can we make it more interesting? I think the conversation they had is they thought more holistically about the direction they want, like how they want people to view League of Legends as a game and then kind of reverse engineered these changes while obviously listening to the community. And I think that's a much more intelligent way of bringing about change. In anything, whether it's a product or a service or... You
got to like start high level instead of
you start high level and think about what are we trying to create here and kind of go backwards. Yeah. So I think they've done a really excellent job personally.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe that's just like a narrative with just going to go back to full clear meta. Yeah, I mean, again, I've been playing Rek'Sai and like it's still fun.
When is it ever... Like, I still don't get that. Like, I think, again, the entire theme is flexibility here.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to create versatility. Sure, there will be options where full clear junglers are going to work, but I think they have more than enough counterplay. yes, you got to be more disciplined. There's more mistakes. Like you can't make it probably as many mistakes anymore. But I like that. If anything, I think that's what makes League exciting. You got to be on the ball 24/7. You know, you can't afford to doze off in lull states. You got to be. That's what makes League fun. It's fast paced. It's go go go.
That's right. Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the future of League. That's the way the game has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be more brutal. The game, because it's getting more solved, like, in a way. Everyone's good mechanically. Everyone kind of knows how to stack waves into a dive.
Everyone knows what all the champs do and everything, mostly.
If anything, the game being more brutal makes it more fun. So, look, at the end of the day, you can look at it from two different perspectives, but that's at least the way I interpret a lot of these changes.
Yeah.
Did you want to move on to some of the... Is there any, for jungle, any significant items?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just play it out. I'm not sure. Again, I still think we're rocking and rolling. I mean, like, it's funny when you play the new thing, you're like, wow, all these changes and stuff.
Right.
It's like, well, I'm still playing League of Legends. The fundamentals are still staying the same. Like, I'm clearing officially. I still have 6 camps on the map to clear. The hex gates were sometimes you always walk past them.
Yeah, you kind of forget about
them all the time.
Agreed.
Dude.
Agreed.
So
I don't know about you, but I'm really you know how we kind of go back to the heart, body, soul? Is it heart, body, soul?
Heart, body, mind.
Heart, body, mind. I'm terrible at the like I don't get excited by theory crafting. That's not my thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So like in a way, when I'm doing this, I'm like kind of taking a step back. Everyone else, let all the people kind of theory craft what they want to theory craft. Like I'm more feel oriented and like looking at like, okay, I can kind of see the direction here. And most of the passionate for me were mainly noise. I mean, but I do want to get into some of the mage items.
Yep. Let's jump into the. So that was a big.
The mage items were big.
So the crown is built every game code. Why is that?
Okay, so mage meta. I call it the mage meta revival.
Yeah. Okay,
right. In a way. And now look, in saying this, I think they've done a good job because they buffed lethality items.
Yeah.
They buffed lethal tempo, which makes Yone and Yasuo really good. So some of the assassins are always going to be really good.
Yep.
But at the same time, they've obviously added. I mean, Everfrost got 400 gold cheaper, really cheap, super effective. I think Everfrost is a very solid item at the moment, and I think will largely dictate the meta.
Yep.
Crown, I saw it and I thought it was going to be amazing, and it was better than I expected.
It's so good.
If you're versing melee comps, it's incredible. If you're a mage versing melee comps,
you're unbelievably tanky.
You can't
die.
If you're very good, it's bad against high range comps, but if you're versing a melee comp, it's amazing.
Is the item overtuned now?
But the item's overtuned right now.
Thank God.
And it will get nerfed. There's no doubt. But the theory of it again is really good. It has a place.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. It gives people flexibility. If they want utility, they can go Everfrost. They want pure damage. You got Ludens, Tank Shred, Leandries, Peel, defensive, survivability. Crown should have you should build Crown because you can't play Orianna into Kha'Zix, Camille, and all this shit. You just can't.
Yeah.
So this needs to exist in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
They just need to alter maybe the numbers a little bit, or maybe make it a touch more expensive, or maybe less damage. Because right now it doesn't feel like you're losing much damage because the durability is insane.
Yep.
So I think the item's incredibly good. Now, the one thing where I feel like there's 2 things that I don't like with the mage items. Number 1, Shadow Flame.
What's that one do?
So Shadow Flame is the item where it gives like it's 3,000 gold. It gives you AP, HP, and flat magic pen. But the magic pen is based off I think current HP and as well max HP as well as shields. So you have more magic pen towards people with targets with shields. So like obviously you can see the theory. They're trying to incentivize you to build this when you're versing champions that have shields and stuff like that. Building shield bow. Where I think it misses the mark is that no one's building it because people have shields.
Yeah, no.
It's not intuitive.
Yeah.
And I like the way they're going. Like this item should be around to kind of counter shield stacking comps because AD champions have that. They have Serpent's Fang. But AP champions don't.
Yeah.
So I don't like the execution, but I like the idea. And the item, what I don't like about it, it's such an unintuitive item. So for example, like Magic Pen as a stat, it doesn't feel good to buy later in the game. It's one of those stats you want early on when people have very low base MR and when people can't really afford to build MR. And you get a lot of time it's a hard stat to get. You only get it from like a Luden's Mythic passive. You get it from Sorks. Now it costs 3,000 gold to get Magic Pen, but if you're getting it as a second item, by then people are probably going to build MR. and you might as well just get a void staff. So yes, I get it. This one obviously is, you get HP, a lot of AP. It's a little bit different. I'm just not convinced. It feels non-intuitive to buy. It's like I don't want to buy Magic Pen that late in the game. I might as well just either buy raw AP, like a Death Cap, or buy Void Staff.
Void Staff. I think someone did the math, and I think Void Staff is just still better or something.
Yeah, like again, we'll see. Again, it's obviously going to get changed. I don't think Riot really, that wasn't their intention.
Yeah.
I think they need to shift it a bit, but again, I think they missed the mark there. Yep. And I think the other one, the Doran's ring change, made no sense to me.
Oh, really? So what was that?
Well, what they did is that okay, so the way Doran's worked before is that you got your resources off last hits. So if you got perfect last hits with the previous Doran's, you'd get about the same mana as you did with this one. But this one, you got to hit the enemy to proc it. But what I don't get is that they're kind of making it easier to execute, but at the same time, I don't get the identity of the item. What I liked about the other one, it made sense because you're focusing on farm, you're playing conservative, you want to elongate the lane phase. Then you had C-Pot, which was the counter to that. You want to burn through your resources and play fast. But now they're telling people to incentivize people to trade with Doran's to get your mana, which doesn't make sense to me. You've already got C-Pot for that. So I don't really get... This is the one thing that... The second thing that I don't get the intention. So
when you say C-Pot, you mean to Corrupting
Pot, yeah.
With the biscuit.
Yeah, or you don't have to go biscuit and Time Warp, but just C-Pot in general. It's for pushing the pay. You're going to trade heavy. You're going to... It makes sense. It has an identity. Yeah. And Doran's before had an identity. It's I can just last hit, farm, get my mana, relax.
But they want you to trade.
But this one, you're getting your mana... You're being incentivized to trade onto the enemy to get your mana back. Or fire mana regen, which doesn't make sense to me. It's what do you want from people building this item? I don't get it.
That already exists.
That already exists with C-Pot. If you want people to heavy trade, just get C-Pot. So this either says to me that they're trying to weed out Corrupting Pot. They don't like Corrupting Pot in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. But to be honest, it's noise. It's noise, but I'm just saying from an intention standpoint, I don't really get what they were getting at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the rest, and also I think Cosmic Drive is incredibly good.
Yep.
Really, really, really good item.
Yeah.
Across the board. I think
what type of champs will be built, and that's a Vital Wars used to build.
So there's two other items I want to talk about: Cosmic Drive and Seraph. So Cosmic Drive, Cosmic Drive is amazing. They changed it completely from the old Cosmic Drive. It's like a phase rush now, and you get the movement speed for 5 seconds in combat. It's ages. You can just fucking zip around for ages. It gives you ability haste, AP. HP, movement speed, it gives you everything. The extra AP when you proc the passive, it does everything. So it's going to be a core second item on every champ, every control mage essentially. I think it would be the best item. Even Silas would just be a really good second item. You can't go wrong with building it essentially. The other item is, so this was a huge change actually, was they changed Archangels. So why this was massive is because most mages build tier for mana, right? Orianna, Syndra, Victor, most mages, even Ziggs, a lot of these champions built tier for mana. Where this makes a big difference is that they shifted that the passive doesn't give you AP based off, I think it's max mana. You get ability haste. So a lot of these champions, they don't want ability haste. There's too much ability haste, and they reduce the amount of damage you get from it. So champions like Ori, Syndra, Victor, they don't want Seraphs anymore. So either you just sit on tier, just to get the base amount of mana and you just never upgrade it, or you don't buy it at all and get mana other ways, which is kind of hard. So I think what we'll see is that, but the champions that are really good with Seraphs are the ones that they benefit from the passive on the Seraphs, which gives you health per mana spent, as well as the ability haste. So Rise and Cassio will pop off with Archangels.
Oh god, I hate that.
So I think I think those two champs will kind of definitely rise up in priority.
Yeah.
And why they're also really, really good. Think about why Cassio, those two champs are so good.
Yeah.
Cosmic Drive, both of them are amazing with Cosmic Drive. Both of them amazing with Seraphs, and both of them Everfrost buff for Rise.
Yeah. And
Crown is obviously really good on Cassio and as well. So those two champs I think have insane item builds right now. And so, and that actually makes sense because Rise is always a champ that is based off items. Rise always comes back based off items rather than buffs to the champ itself. So I think we'll see a lot of Rise, Cassio. But on the flip side, again, underneath all this is obviously Yone with Lethal Tempo being way too strong because Lethal Tempo is ridiculous at the moment. So yeah, that's all the stuff that I got, major things.
Yeah. That just reminded me. So the tank, they tried to like make some changes to the tank items, like Chem Tank and the Frostfire
Force of Nature's good
Fist.
now.
Yeah.
That'd be because they added that on purpose. They knew Rise and Cassie were going to be strong.
Oh yeah.
So they added Force of Nature. Force of Nature is perfect.
Yeah,
into
those
champs.
are good against those champs. That's good. Yeah. Something about like the Sunfire is just expensive and it's just like not that good, man. Like it just doesn't feel good to.
Tank items are just weird, man.
They are like I don't know what to like. Let's just say I can just say like I've sort of been building it a bit. I've been sort of like trying to pick up Udia and just trying to hit this out with a full clear. And I was like, is that
Didn't
back?
they buff Chem Tank?
Yeah, they got rid of like the emulate thing. So like you don't do like the AoE anymore, but you like have like a dead man's on it. So you like charge it up.
That's good, isn't it?
And you smack it. I mean, you charge up and you smack it and you do like a little bit of damage. It's just they got to do something with the tank items, man. Like
tanks are awkward.
it's awkward, isn't it? Because sometimes they just get out of control.
Feels like
right?
the game is fade. I don't really know how Riot are going to balance.
I don't know
tanks.
either. But I'd say they failed already, dude. Like I just look at it and it's just like
No one wants to play tanks.
no.
Because tanks are either ridiculously overpowered.
Yeah.
Like, how do you find the middle ground?
It is hard. So, they tried to make some changes, but I mean, I literally don't see the change. It will change anything, dude. Honestly, like
I hope
sad.
Riot do. I hope they find a way.
dude, that's.
I mean, they've got some pretty smart people there.
I know.
You know,
It's tough, but yeah, they've missed the mark right now. I don't see anything happening.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's a bit disappointing for me. I'd love to see some tank junglers back, and like Skarner.
Well, but that said, isn't the item really good? Like the mana one.
Well, I mean, the thing about junglers, they don't really go because of the jungle item. Like in the jungle,
True, you're in the jungle, you get the mana.
Like
regen,
I was
right?
trying to think, like there's not really any champs that like. I mean, it is handy. I mean, I can't say it's but it's like they need another kick. Like
need something else, something creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need something. I don't know what it is either.
Like I think that mana item's good on like Hecarim. I think that there's like this Hecarim build.
Right.
I think it's really good with.
Right.
Theoretically, it would be really good on Udyr because Udyr does spam stances. He does go
You know what they need to do? They need to find a way to make all the because you know how they thought of top as a tank role.
Yeah.
Like initially, when you back in the day, it was like a tank role.
Maokai,
Ornn. Sion.
Yeah.
Even Ornn.
Yeah.
Like all these like Chen. Like even Garen in a way. It was all like kind of tanky, big, bruisey. Like that's what they wanted. That's what I assume anyway. That's based off the way the game evolved. And then they started to introduce bruises, which kind of worked well into tanks, and it's like this back and forth. But anyway, what they need to do is they need to find a way to make all of these tanks viable in the jungle. I just don't see how top is ever going to be a tank role from now on. Based off the length of the lane and people know with plates, like I think Shen is kind of an outlier maybe. Like, but I think all these tanks like Maokai, Sion.
You think they should have been in the jungle?
What's the other one? Mundo, they all need to be junglers.
Really, you think so?
That's what I think they need to do. They need to say, screw it. Okay, these champs, they can't really function top anymore with the likes of Camille, Fiora, Darius, Aurelia. There's too many champs in top lane that just kind of like outshine. Because I don't see how both of them can be meta at the same time. I don't see how an Aurelia, Fiora, Camille can be in the game at the same time at equal viability as a tank. Yeah. So I don't see it at all.
Yeah.
So I think they need to find a creative way to make these junglers. Because jungle, in a way, suits... Like, your utility should come from the jungle.
I agree, yeah, theoretically.
Theoretically. I don't know how the hell they would do that.
I mean, a lot of people would be angry about that if that's where it came to. I mean, yeah, then I still think that they should have, like, the Nilly and Kindred and Rek'Sai.
Definitely. But there should be the option. There's not even an option to play really a tank jungler,
no,
is there?
there's not. Not really. Yeah.
In SoloQ.
Yeah.
But anyway, anything else you want to touch on before we move on?
That, and then there's that Lethalia that refreshes the cooldown.
Oh, Axiom Arc.
Yeah, like
I've heard with Nocturne is pretty good. Have you played it?
There's like a clip on YouTube, like this Nocturne's like ulting 3 times in like a minute or some shit. People try and build it first item. I don't think it's that good first item, but it's definitely handy to have it a build for those.
I've seen it on Kha'Zix.
Oh yeah, Kha'Zix, yeah.
With stealth, you like perma stealth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't tried it yet personally.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And again, I think that, I think a lot of it's noise. I mean, the game, at the end of the day, if you're sitting there like complaining about these things while you're this elo, like, the fundamentals are still there.
Yep.
There's some things you got to adapt, and
it's going to be chaotic at the start. I made an article in my MLA about that. The first 2 months are going to be complete chaos.
Yeah.
2-3 months are going to be complete chaos, and then it will slowly and surely balance out a little bit.
Yeah, I want to quickly talk about that because people will be like, I don't want to play the game because it's like that. But like, just play the game. I think it's really important for people to play in preseason. You know, I really don't want to hear that narrative where it's like, I've got all these messages already. People saying like, oh, people just aren't trying and stuff in SoloQ. Like, I don't know what to play. Like, what should I play? Just play anything. I don't care what you're playing.
Well,
play anything and then just play the game and just have a feel like this hex gate, like the new like runes, like first strike and stuff.
Okay, let's
get a feel of playing against it, not playing with it. That's
yeah,
sort of
I agree with that. But let's say two things.
The message.
This is what I say. I say, number one, if you need a break and you're burnt, take a break.
Yeah, of course.
Like, that's number one.
Yeah.
Like, before we go people to play, if you tried really hard towards the end of the season and you grinded for that last, like, a month to get that rank that you wanted to get, okay. It's okay to take a break if you really need to take a break. And I've said to a few people, you need to take a break, dude. You've gone hard the last 3 months. It's okay, dude. Come back in 2 months and we can work on that. But so for the people who aren't burnt and they want to utilize the off season, great. It's a great opportunity to get ahead, get a feel for the meta,
get a feel for it,
get a feel, and the feel thing's spot on.
What you'll do is you'll start seeing like, oh, it's interesting, like that feels pretty strong, like to play against, and then because you sort of like readjust like damage limits, and like these crown thing, I got to readjust.
It changes your threat perception big time.
Like this guy's got this crown, like I can't one shot with like my Rek'Sai combo anymore. You know, it's like stuff like.
Well, that guy's got Axiom Arc. I didn't factor that ultimate cooldown in. I mean, I didn't factor in the Cosmic Drive Phase Rush, like passive. I mean, there's so many different things. I think so. There's two overarching ways you can use the preseason. Okay, number one, like you said, get a feel. Play your same champs. Play around. Yep. Don't overcomplicate things. No. Just feel it out. Feel it out. What does this do? What does that do? Like you said, damage threat. How much damage does that person do? How much damage do I do? Durability. It's going to take like a good few weeks to just get a feel for how everything goes. The pace of the game. Everything. And that's a really great way to kind of get a head start of most people who aren't playing. You'll be more familiar with how things are going to interact. Your skirmishing is going to be better than other people. Things like that. The second one is expanding your champion pool. And so what I would always recommend first is take the first week or two to just get familiar with the patch first before you actually start learning a champ. Yep. But it's a great time to learn the champ because obviously your rank, I mean, yeah, MMR changes a little bit, but you're not going to be as scared to kind of play at your highest rank and play champions to get familiar with the champions so you can have them in your ranked pool for next season. It's a great opportunity to kind of play around, expand your pool. So when the season starts, you've got a well-defined pool and you're rock and rolling. So that's what I'd recommend people. So most people in the MLA, they're either doing one or two things. They're just doing the feel thing or they're genuinely taking the time to expand their champion pool.
Yep.
Or maybe shift one out, remove that one, add another one in, and this is it. So that's what I've been telling people to do.
Yep, I think now's the time to maybe try and play. I have one guy who's learning mid lane in the preseason. Play a different role. Play completely.
You can learn a
style.
Secondary.
Could
be a play for you. If you want to have I made that support secondary.
Yeah, I like that.
Just you can maybe get better at your secondary role. Hone in on your secondary role for 2 months, and then when you get back into the January comes around, you got a great secondary champ now to play. You know, there's many ways to use it, but the feel's the most important thing.
Yeah, like if you're saying, you don't want to play the game because it's just chaotic, it's like, well, I think we need a bit more of a reason, It's like,
I get that. I mean, that's embedded in it. That's part of the playing in preseason.
That's right. Welcome to preseason. So I saw a tweet because everyone's been criticizing the game, saying it's game over with the objective bounties and the dragons. Everyone hates it, right? That's like just normal stuff, right?
Yep.
And this guy said after criticizing League for over 10 years, quitting to play shooters and coming back, I can confidently say other games are just as broken and full of flaws. Grass is always greener on the other side, and if you play all day, you naturally find more bad than good. Then he said, League is actually good, and I can say this because after a long hiatus, I can't stop playing. Like, I'm addicted in preseason out of all things. I thought this would be a good tweet to sort of, get people sort of thinking, it's like, we sit there and we're going to criticize the preseason changes and Riot as much as we want, but the games are still a good game, man.
I get so many people come back, dude. You have no idea.
Yeah,
I get so many people who quit, and they always come back. Mm-hmm. They just always come back. And there's a reason for that, because even if they're not addicted, they're just 6 months, they've played all these other games, they just come back to League. And the game is great. And it just really depends on you. And this is what I said. I'm going to go back to what I said, I think it was 2 episodes ago. If you abuse the game, if you abuse anything, it's not going to be good. Your relationship with it is not going to be good.
That's right.
And I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's pretty bloody good.
Compared to other games in the market
Compared to other games. Yeah. So, I like that. I think that guy's got a good point. We think that every other game is perfect.
Yeah, it's like League's just this bad game. Don't play it. Too toxic and stuff. And so, well, other games have their issues as well.
Every game has their issue. 100%, man. Well, I came from the Counter-Strike background. I felt Counter-Strike was a more toxic environment than League for sure. In a different way. It's toxic. And I think we had this discussion in the MLA. We're talking about how, like, our gaming backgrounds, and Counter-Strike is a very elitist game. And it was like kind of more like cyberbullying. Like I felt like I was a victim in Counter-Strike. Like I was bullied. But in League, you can always just kind of mute. You don't have to interact with other people. But in Counter-Strike, you just have to. Yeah. If you want to go to a high level, you got to play pugs, and you got to be. It's like a community, and it's so toxic.
You can just get SoloQ and rank 1 all on your own.
You could just be by yourself and mute all and play the game all the way to rank 1 if you really wanted to in League. But you can't do that in Counter-Strike. You got to be a part of it. And once you start to get very good at Counter-Strike, you get like exiled. And if people call you a cheater in that game, there's no way to defend yourself.
Yeah.
So it's toxic as hell. So look, again, every game has its benefits and negatives. So yeah, I think that's a really good thing. Really good point.
All right, another thing, scouring the internet. So I just scour the internet all day long. There is a post on Reddit saying this guy did like an AMA, and he said, I'm an Ornn one trick who got Grandmaster on EU playing only Ornn in an anti-tank meta. So he played the last season, only Ornn top. And I think this is just great, just going our narrative of champ mastery, how important that is. Like, we're sitting there complaining about tank items, and this guy's playing Ornn of all champs in the top lane,
That's
getting
incredible.
Destroyed by all these, in Grandmaster and EUS,
That's incredible, man.
He says it was a rough journey for my mental, but I got it done. I'm really happy about it.
I respect the hell out of that.
I agree. That's awesome.
That guy earned my respect.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's EU's a really competitive server, super competitive server. Everyone plays like Fiora, Camille, and all the Aurelia.
Yeah.
And he's found a way. Champ mastery.
Yep.
You find a way to win the game. Yep. It's not going to be pretty, right? But he's all in on it. And if he can do that on Ornn, what's the excuse? Being a one trick as well, that's brutal. That's really, really. It's not like he had Shen and Ornn, like other maybe niche tank tops that he could have played. No, he went all in.
So he said that he did would dodge certain games.
Okay. He probably knew unwinnable games.
He would know unwinnable games. Like, I mean, he had to deal with Vayne and Darius, right, top lane. Right. So, you'll be able to ban one, but then they'll pick the other, and then
and he kind of knew if it was like dodgeable or not.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was he did create his toolkit in a way. Like, this is how I'm going to climb with Ornn specifically. But still, I mean, he was still
props to him, man. Think about that. Everyone complaining about how tanks are unplayable.
Yeah.
No one plays tanks at all. And he just goes up to get GM. I mean, props to him. And that's like the BBC mantra, right? That's the champ mastery right there.
Yeah.
And imagine how good that guy would be. Like his mental and the way he views the game. Yeah. Imagine how smart he would be holistically about the game. As a tank player, you would have to be really, really switched on. I respect that, man.
You can't run around just killing it. You have to choose when you go in. Your ult usage has to be perfect.
Wow. That's not easy at all. And there's so many tools to deal with Ornn ult as well. There's like win walls, thresh Ws, bard ults. There's so much things. Man, just imagine watching that guy's games and that grind. He probably had an ugly as hell OPGG as well.
Oh, yeah, it would be horrible, yeah.
Would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Would have been it would have been the classic 52% win rate. I nearly guarantee you.
Yeah.
So props to him, man. That's it. I mean, if that's not enough motivation, there's no excuses.
For champ mastery.
We're reading Meditations for the book club this month.
Yep.
And there was 2 things that I kind of wanted to highlight from the book that kind of, we're not going to go too in depth here because we're doing a book club meeting later this week, but 2 things that really jumped out to me that I think we should share with the community here.
Some learnings.
Yeah, so I'm going to read out this quote. And sometimes when you read a quote, you know how like it's when you get a great analogy and it really resonates. Something clicks in your brain. You're like, wow, I never thought of it like that. This was one of those things where it just clicked, and I just sat there stunned, and I was like, okay, this is good.
My life's changed.
So here we go. To watch the courses of the stars as if you revolved with them, to keep constantly in mind how the elements alter into one another. Thoughts like this wash off the mud of life below. So to give you a little bit of context, basically what, the way I interpret this anyway is, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, Nathan. When you're walking at night and you kind of look up and you see stars at night and you're like, holy shit, man, I'm just the biggest... I'm just like I'm like a grain of sand. I'm nothing. Like I'm this little monkey on this planet Earth, and there's trillions of planets out there. I'm nothing.
Yep.
And
I honestly can't say the last time I have walked around and looking at the stars.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So when you go, well, anyway, like I went, because I came home the other night when we went out on the weekend, and I kind of walked home and I saw this star.
Yeah.
And then I read this on Sunday, and it kind of connected. And I'm like, I really get that. I resonate with that. And you look at it, and you're like, holy shit, I'm just this little thing. I mean, we're doing this podcast right now, talking to probably like 2,000, 3,000 people. We're so insignificant. But at the same time, this is not to say we're useless. It's more to put it in perspective how insignificant your problems are.
That's right.
And to gain a little bit of perspective.
Yep.
And I love what he says at the end. Thoughts like this wash off the mud of life below. And the way I interpret that is like we do all these very dirty activities, very like messy, like things that make us not feel good. And in SoloQ, that happens all the time, right? You might someone might abuse you, you get a troll, you have a 0-3 block, you get unlucky, someone bans your champ or whatever. Like we do these activities, these things happen to us, these events happen to us that like tying to this analogy, you're like mud, like you just stepped in like this dirty puddle, you got mud all up your leg, on your shoes, you just shit all over you, right? And then like when you get a little bit of perspective and you kind of sit back after that 0-3 block and you kind of go for a walk or you kind of get out of your room and you're just there and you think like this, you think more holistically about your journey, or you think...
I guess we use the word when we were talking about that, zooming out.
Right, zooming out and thinking, okay, this is just one block in the grand scheme of like...
What does this conversation, what does conflict with this person mean in the grand scheme?
Yeah, I don't know this guy. He doesn't know me. He means nothing to me. He doesn't understand my journey. I don't have a relationship. This is not a meaningful conversation. Like you start to zoom out and you like to get context of the scenario. And in a way, that perspective, it washes off the mud. That's what allows you to... And if you don't zoom out and get perspective of the way... The book is by Marcus Aurelius. He was like a Roman emperor in like 300 AD or something. And that's what he did. He used perspective and the philosophy of Stoicism to wash off these thoughts, wash off this mud off his mind. Or figuratively, the mud on his shoes, the dirt off his shoes. And I love that so much. I think this is a really beautiful way of viewing these negative experiences we have in SoloQ. If you don't take the time to wash off the mud and just blindly trudge through the shit, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Yeah. More mud, more shit's going to...
Because you're not washing it off.
You're not washing it off. It's just building up. It builds up. It builds up. You got to take the time to wash it off.
That's what the 15 games a day looks like.
Yep, spot on. If you were to tie that to an analogy, he's like rolling around the mud, dude.
Yep.
He hasn't taken the time to wash off and look at where all the potholes are, You got to take... And I love this so much. So, it's all about perspective, zooming out. So this is a different way of thinking of it. It's the same message, just it's framed in a different way. And the other thing... And I found this a few times. Now, look, I'm not going to say any names... But in the MLA, I've noticed there are some people that they're afraid to ask for help. Okay? And what I want to kind of like a public service announcement, don't be ashamed to need help. It's okay. Like League is a hard game. Life's hard. We're not just, to climb at League, it's a journey. It's a bloody hard journey.
And we said we looked at the stats, just how hard it is to get to diamond, high diamond, and above, how you're literally the Squid Game type analogy.
It's brutal. And this is what the SoloQ and the MLA are for, and the BBC. It's okay.
It's fun, man. You know, let's solve some problems. That's why I always say, what exciting problems do we have to look at today?
But I think some people, from what I've seen, at least in the MLA, is like I think there are people kind of lurking in the shadows, and they're ashamed of it. They're ashamed of struggling, or they're ashamed of needing help. Maybe they don't want to ask the basic questions, or they don't want to kind of expose themselves. They're not willing to ask themselves or go have those tough conversations. And it's sad to see, because I mean, I can only help them if they want to get helped. I can't go out of my way. I'm here to help you if you want help.
I'm here if you need
but
me.
I can't do that. And I think there's a lot of people out there that they feel like they have to do it alone. They feel like if they can't get it by themselves, they're stupid, or like, no, that's not the case. Like, League is so hard. And what you're doing, even going from platinum to diamond, is incredibly hard. And so it's just more of like a public service announcement. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know? And Nathan and I have had many times in our League journey where we're up shit creek, and we've been playing the game for 10 years, you know? Like,
it's very easy to fall into
and we do this all day for a living.
Yeah.
Like, imagine for people that are casually playing, have full-time jobs, relationships, marriages, and they're kind of just grinding the SoloQ ladder. Of course you're going to need help. You're going to need help. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It's okay. And it's okay to be broken in a way as well. It's okay to be broken.
Welcome to how many times are you going to be broken in
Everyone's
your SoloQ journey every year? You know?
Everyone's going to get broken at some point.
Yeah.
It's okay to be vulnerable in a way.
That's right.
So, yeah, just kind of like a little public service announcement, you know?
Yep, I like it. I think I need to clarify that with my community as well, you know? Solve some exciting problems.
Yeah.
I love reviewing games, just looking at some problems of gameplay.
Yeah, it's getting specific.
Some loss of
talking about
tempo.
it. No, but even then, it's like, if you feel as though it's a stage 3 type issue, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we can break that down. We're like, okay, we can talk about your stage 3 issue if you feel as though this is something that's persistent. Because I'm getting to the point with one of my clients, 610, for example, you know, he's trying to go pro, he's putting in the work, grinds, but there's a stage 3 type issue that's preventing him from going to that next level. Yeah. It's not about, like, he knows the mistakes he's making.
Yeah.
It's not about game knowledge anymore, execution. It's literally, he can't maintain his focus in the game. He actively can't control his dopamine. He's making,
he's going for that
He's
fight.
got to go for that fight
Yeah.
when he knows that he doesn't have to. It's a bad play.
Yep.
And this is a problem. We've got to figure it out.
That
and
takes a long time to chip away at, by the way, as well.
And you know what? If I never called him out of that, he's going to continue to grind for another. He played, like, I think, 3,000 games last season.
Yeah.
He's going to do that again. He could be stuck.
So that's an ingrained habit right there.
It's an ingrained habit. It's going to take us thousands of games to unbreak it, but we've got to start now. We're in the preseason. I told him, like, if you don't get high chal next year, like, just give up, you know? He's got to, this is it.
This is his last chance.
This is his last chance, man. And if I'm not, and sometimes I feel like, what, you gotta want me to help you, dude. You gotta help me here. I'm not there to review every single one of your games. Let's make it work. Let's make it, you know, again, don't be afraid to ask for help. Even if it is some fucked up stage 3 issue. Because League's not simple.
Love it. Big fan of that, Curtis.
Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
There was a thought. We had one guy in our ranked achievements channel. I forgot his name, but he never types in the Discord in our SoloQ. He's been in SoloQ for like 6-7 months.
Yeah.
And he just said, "Oh, I've just been watching all the reviews, chipping away, and just reading the conversations, and he achieved his goal. I think it was like high plat or something.
That's
or
awesome.
Diamond." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." You know,
you get those.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? You get these people that actually don't get coaching, but they watch all the VODs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few of them. And they pop out of nowhere and they get this like result. Like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Using the resources.
So, that's what I was thinking when they, you know, it's like, I mean, he sort of, I mean, I wasn't helping, he didn't ask for my help specifically, but he still was like consuming the content.
Right.
You know?
Got you.
But I was sort of wondering like why would he not
Why would he not
review
go
at
out
least
his
one
way?
game, you know, like, especially if he's that invested, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I've had a few people that are afraid to get reviews because it's in front of other people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair enough, maybe. Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know, try and make it exciting.
Yeah.
Get to know each other and stuff. It's like a community.
I ask for like in a lot of my sessions, I get other people to chip in.
Yeah,
do you
I
do
ask
that?
all the time, 100%.
I would say because I know
especially one tricks and
yeah,
stuff.
I'll ask if I have a cat player and I'm reviewing cat player on the other call, I'll say, Fake Cash, what do you think of that? Or Valk, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I got like Jesse
It's
for
great.
Zach and Graves and Talon players and Hecker.
It's like a helpful. It's like so helpful.
Yeah, then I don't need to play 1,000 games with the champion.
Yeah, exactly.
So as a community, use it.
As you use it, yep, spot on.
All right, anything else, Curtis? Should we jump in
I
Mailbag?
think we jump into Mailbag, man.
Away we go. Welcome back for Nathan's Mailbag. Jingle, jingle, jingle song. All righty then. First question here is from Thomas. The title of this email is Adding Jungle Champ to Pool. Finally got a question for me. Hi, Curtis and Nathan. Hello from Newcastle, New South Wales, a fellow Oceanic Aussie. Love the podcast. I've only been listening for a few months, but planning on listening for many more. First point. You mentioned when discussing the pros and cons of private profiles that not being able to check if someone on your team is trolling isn't really a downside because the enemy team can't check either, so the net effect is 50-50 in the long run. Actually, the odds are better than 50-50. Consider this. There are 9 random players in each game you play, 4 on your team and 5 on the enemy team. If someone is trolling, there's actually a 5 in 9 or 56% chance that they're on the enemy team. It's the same for any complaints people have about their teammates. You only have 4 teammates, but you have 5 opponents. So whatever your complaint is, it's more likely that the enemy team will suffer it in the long run. This always gives me some peace of mind when someone on my team goes AFK or something. You might find this line of logic useful to point out if you hear people complain about their teammates. That's an excellent point.
Great point.
I've never thought of it that way. I guess I don't think of it that way. Because sometimes I feel like I'm that one that's trolling on the team. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just losing games with my team all the time.
I'm the troll.
You know? Like, I mean, I'm not not in the way that he's saying.
Not in the way he's describing.
But I mean, I lose a lot of games.
Yeah, but if we're talking about straight trolls, 100%. Like, I would say we would experience it less than other people.
Yep. Second point, so this is a question. I like to learn a second jungle champ, but I'm not sure which direction to go. I've basically been one trick in Rek'Sai since earlier this year, and I was wondering whether to pick up a champ similar to Rek'Sai or different. Often we have a team comp which is all AD and no tanks, and I feel like it would be useful to pick an AP tank. What am I more likely to win with a champion whose playstyle I'm familiar with, or an AP tank that fits the comp better? And then, if I do pick another champ that's like Rek'Sai, wouldn't I just be better off playing Rek'Sai instead? Maybe there are AP tanks with playstyles not dissimilar to Rek'Sai. Hecarim, or maybe I just try a bunch of champs and pick the one I like. Struggling to see the pros and cons. So I'm going to answer the first question. What am I more likely to win with? A champ whose playstyle is similar to Rek'Sai, or an AP tank that fits the comp better? I mean, the obvious answer is a similar champ, but then now the question is, why play that champ if you could just play Rek'Sai, which is a great question. Why
couldn't you just have the AP equivalent of Rek'Sai, like an Elise?
Yeah.
Like, the advice I always give, man, is like, you want to have a solid player identity. If you like playing early game gank-oriented junglers, then just pick another one that fits in that niche.
Elise, Gragas, Talia.
Elise, yep. I mean,
What
Talia, really?
Yeah, I've seen people that play Talia. I think Talia's still fun.
I never see that champ. That champ's so hard as well.
Yeah, it's very hard.
I would not recommend it. It would depend on what. I mean, that's a hard-ass champ.
Dude,
I think Gragas and Elise make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else I'm missing? Not Echo. Not really the same.
Yeah, Echo's not the same at
I'd say Elise and Gragas are great.
Yeah.
But that's similar identity, right?
Gragas with
Early
Predator.
gank oriented junglers, provided a little bit more utility. Because then you would pick it in the comp that when you have AD mid, for example. You don't want a full AD comp, but you don't want to play Rek'Sai.
Yeah. Well, I mean, full AD comps are very good with like Zac, Nunu, Sejuani.
Yeah, but you can learn that later on. Like, I feel like it'd be way better for him to all in on his identity, right?
Yeah.
Like, you get really... If he got really good at that style, like, he'd be better off for the long run.
I agree. Yeah. He asked about Hecarim, but yeah, I mean, Hecarim's obviously a lot different.
It's just a different style.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, that's what I would... I'm not a jungler, so I don't know, but that's what I would recommend.
Yep. Does that answer his question? I think
That didn't answer his question.
Yep. All right. Moving on here. This one's from Caled. Questions from a newcomer. I've recently discovered your channel by an amazing girl who edits for you. Wonder who that is. She sent me a link, and I started to watch your videos again and again, and I enjoy it so much.
But who? Ashuria?
It must be, yeah. I mean, who else?
Oh, nice.
Edits for us?
Francine.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to Francine.
Therefore, I got a question for you guys. I'm a jungle main who never uses Flash, but I pick Ignite instead, and I main Kha'Zix. But I also play Kayn and Nocturne, full lethality Nocturne. During this season, it took me 500 games to get out of Plat and about a lot of Diamond promos. But once I got Diamond, I became so much better playing confidently to even reaching Diamond 180 LP a month after getting Diamond 4. But then I started to lose. First I demoted to Diamond 2, got stuck there for about 30 games, and I went back to D1, then I dropped to D4. I got so disgusted. I don't know what happened to me, but I just became pure sack of toxicity and madness. Since season ended, I didn't get to use your videos about managing emotions yet, but my question is, did I climb by luck? Do I belong in Diamond 4? Thanks in advance, and have a nice day. I mean, there could have been some element of a win streak, maybe like a win streak from Diamond 4 to D1. I mean, that's a pretty big jump.
I don't think you can get that.
But that's really lucky. Yeah. You probably got to that level of play.
Yeah, man.
And then you probably just made yourself worse.
If he's bouncing between D1 and D2, he's 100% that level.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to ever get back to D1.
I think he's in D4 at the moment.
But he said he went from all the way to D4 to D1.
Yeah.
Then he dropped to D2.
Yep.
But then he went back to D1, right? He kind of bounced between
back
D1
to D1, and then now we're back in D4.
I mean, look, I think, again, that's just the classic plateau scenario.
Diamond is very difficult to get
Diamond
out of.
2, Diamond 2 to Master Tier is one of the hardest LP breakpoints you'll ever experience.
Yeah. What people will do is that they will he self-sabotages now, so he's actually worse. Yeah.
Dude, okay, so let's talk about this. Maybe we haven't gone specifically in depth on this topic, but we should.
Yeah.
Why is let's go on, talk about why D2 to Master Tier is one of the hardest ranks when you climb in the first time to get over.
Yeah.
I think number one, egos everywhere. High Diamond is unbelievable.
That's right.
So this is dead set, right? So when I play on my second account, just for learning champs and dicking around, it's like high diamond MMR, right? So I play in usually D1, maybe sometimes low master, but D2, D1 games. The players in that rank, their expectations of their teammates are higher than high challenger players. Think of it like that. Their expectations, this is not even an exaggeration. What they expect from their teammates is way, way, way higher than a challenger. It's incredible to me. You can in these players, in their mind, I'm not saying everyone, but a large majority of them, because they've made it to high diamond, they're probably the highest in their friendship group. They think they're flawless players, getting trolled by everyone. Their egos are through the roof, and if you make a single mistake, you are trash. But in challenger, there's a mutual respect in a way, kind of it's okay, if he's here. I make so many mistakes on my challenger account. Even when I was rank 11, and no one really talks about it. Because you're there, you're good. But in Diamond, there's a disrespect. For some reason, every Diamond 1 player is better than the other Diamond 1 player. I don't know what it is, but there's some weird ego.
It's a weird dynamic.
It's a very strange dynamic going on into high Diamond. The second thing is that when there's a huge amount of ranked anxiety for people trying to climb to Master Tier. They view Master Tier as the sacred holy land.
Yeah, and then if they get to Master, they drop back instantly.
Well, even when they're high diamond, they're in their promos, they're shitting themselves.
Yeah,
it's like the biggest moment in existence of the entire history. This is it. We're gonna make it, live or die type thing. So people play worse when they're high diamond because they're so nervous. And if you pop with a low Master Tier player, they're shitting themselves. Oh my God, there's a Master Tier player. It's scary. So there's a whole lot of anxiety, a lot of weird type of decisions stemming from no one's expressing their best self. And I would also say there is a genuine skill gap in a way from 50 LP master to like high diamond. Like there is a genuine skill gap. There's concepts that people kind of need to wrestle with and get better at. It only happens when you put your ego aside and you actually get into the details and kind of just get better. But because the egos are so high and there's so much ranked anxieties, everyone's focused on the LP. People are allergic to get into the details more so than any other rank at that specific LP break. So what happened to you? What was his name again?
Caleb.
So likely what's happened, man, you got there, you obviously climbed all the way to D1, and then
He says he became a pure sack of toxicity. And he like got sucked into it.
He got sucked into it. He got sucked into the D1 culture. Yeah. And so what you got to do, dude, you got to take a step
everyone's
back.
thinking about just getting master. But like your mindset needs to be, how can I become a challenger level player?
How do I get? It's like it should.
Then that will just rocket. Like you lose the perception because everyone's just trying to get that one win.
Everyone's trying to get to 0 LP master. No one's trying to get to GM.
Yeah.
So if you're so think of it as like you're not getting to master. Like you're not stopping at master. Like even if that wasn't you should trick yourself into.
You got to trick yourself. Yeah.
Trick yourself into thinking that master is just like the one little stop along the way. It's like one little petrol station along the way. You get to your location. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So,
but if the petrol station is a destination, then like, you're going to be setting up shop there, and like people are going to be driving past you.
You know an analogy to describe this? If anyone who's ran on a treadmill, right? When you say you have a goal, right? And in your treadmill, you're like, I'm not going to stop until I get to like, 10Ks. At like the 5K mark, like you're not even close. Even if you're tired, you're kind of just going to keep on going. But if you if your goal was the 5K mark, a lot of the time you actually give up. And so when I used to run a lot on the treadmill at my gym, I would always find that when I set the goal higher and I could see the number ticking down,
where you're at becomes easier.
Where I'm at becomes easier mentally. And so I would push above it. So that's like the perfect example. Running is, I feel like, the perfect analogy for that because it's incredible. It's just so different. It's like, well, you see it timing down. It's even with reps at the gym. If you count down, like let's just say you're not counting, you'll do less than if you count to 10. Like if you're actually going to do 10, you count it down. You'll kind of push it out. So I think you're spot on, Nathan. You want to think higher than master. You want to mute a hall. That's a rank where you got to mute all.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
I spoke to Marzion about that, who recently got his climb to master tier at the end of the season. Muting all was a big one for him. I think what he did, he muted all, even pings muted until D2. Then he unmuted pings at D2. And then he muted pings based off if anyone abused the pings. And then you've got to get into details because you're plateaued, man. There's obviously something that's missing there that you're not doing right, that you will only see if you get into the details in your review. You've got to hold yourself to a high standard. But again, in order to do that, you've got to put your ego aside. But you're right, Nathan. He fell into the trap.
Yep.
And he got pulled in. It's like, what's that analogy that's saying where it's like the crabs coming out of a bucket? It's like the same. I gotta search this. Give me one sec, Nathan.
Okay. Should I jump into the next question or?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Right, you can tell us the analogy after.
Yeah.
All right, so the next question is from Jonathan. The title of this email is Second Account and Off-Season Practice. Hey guys, I reached my rank goal of Plat 2 this season, and I'm using the off-season to practice my new LeBlanc pick for next season. I also want to improve my secondary role as well. The problem is about my account. I have 2 other accounts. One is around bronze, and the other is silver 3 or something. My silver account has a lot of skins on it. It used to be my main back in the day. I want to get that account up to maybe around Plat 4 so I can have a second account to practice on in the off-season. The problem is I don't really want to play 100 plus games in silver and low gold to rank it up. So it sounds like he's like already a platinum level player. Yeah, so he's platinum. Yeah, he did say he's got
so he's platinum and he has a silver Smurf.
Yeah, that's like bronze MMR, I think, or something. The games in silver are quite honestly easy, and I feel like if I played that much in low elo, I would pick up bad habits. Not to mention it would be kind of a waste of time. One idea I had was to buy a boost to get it up to Plat 4, but I don't really know how to feel about that. I already hit Plat 2 playing completely solo, so I wouldn't be getting boosted, but I still know it's bad and all. ruining other people's games, that sort of stuff. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do, because obviously learning new champs on the main account is a recipe for disaster. Any ideas what I should do?
Wait, so you're saying he wants a second account to learn champions?
Yeah. So a second account for off-season practice to learn LeBlanc, and he can't play it on his main. And
So what's wrong with playing it on the second account?
because he
It's
feels
too
like
easy.
he'll pick up bad habits playing
When you're
main,
learning a champ, you're not learning the game, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's literally negligible.
Yeah.
When you're learning a champion, say your first 30, 40 games, either it's going to be too easy, in which you're going to get better at killing the Nexus with the champ, or you're going to learn all the combos, get better at them. You're not going to get worse because you're not actually playing at your level regardless. As long as you're not playing at your level on your main champ, you'll be fine. So don't overcomplicate it. The second account is completely fine.
Yeah, maybe you are a silver or gold.
Yeah, you
LeBlanc.
probably are a
Yeah.
gold for LeBlanc anyway. I don't even think the gap will be that large.
Yeah.
So you won't learn bad habits, trust me.
Yeah.
With the amount of games you're playing in there, if you really are that much better than your opponents, then you'll be out of that rank so quick it won't even matter.
Yep.
If anything, it's probably good practice. You're playing a second champ, and you shouldn't have to play that much on that champ. Like you should only be playing like 30 games before you're playing it onto your main.
Yeah. So I think Jonathan, I think you're maybe making a problem out of nothing. I think maybe
Yeah.
overcomplicating things a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just play on that account and learn LeBlanc on that second account and get it higher.
Just going back, Nathan, to Caleb about the
so
crab in a barrel.
Yeah.
So basically, the crab mentality, also known as crabs in a bucket, also barrel, basket, or pot mentality, is a way of thinking best described by the phrase, "If I can't have it, neither can you." While any one of the crabs could easily escape, its efforts will be undermined by others, ensuring the group's collective demise.
There you go. That's
So like they
diamond.
pull each
Yeah,
other,
that's
pull each
right.
other down.
Yeah. That's right.
Because no crabs will get out of the barrel. They
Yeah.
just stepping on each other and or pulling each other out.
Yeah.
Pulling each other down. And that's like the way I think of High Diamond. Everyone's self-sabotaging because no one wants to take responsibility. So it's like if I'm going to lose this game, you're going to come down with me type thing. If I'm not going to be the one that carries, you're coming down with me type thing. It's literally that.
Yep.
Diamond 1, it's brutal. Really is brutal.
All right, what's the end of Mailbag today?
That's it?
That's it.
No more?
No more.
Okay. Book club still rock and rolling. If anyone's interested, any other announcements, things?
Just keep chugging along. Keep
chugging
playing
along.
the game, getting the feel for the preseason changes. The question we answer is, how can we be as prepared as possible when season 12 comes in January?
Yep, we shouldn't be learning champions at the beginning of the season.
Correct.
You want to maximize your time with your champion pool.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Good work, everyone.
Good work.
Keep at it. We'll see you next time.